access some boring subjects.
Understand the risk to our country.
Freedom brings people together.
You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Chris Spangle Show. It is great to be with you on this Saturday. We have an awesome episode with you today. The great Larry Sharpe is here to talk about his book on happiness. And so we will interview him about how to be happy, something that I need a lot of instruction on. So stay tuned and you'll learn a lot.
Warning. This show is for adults by semi-adults, so the language is sometimes strong and offensive.
I don't know what I said.
Welcome to the Chris Spangle Show. Our goal is to help you sound smarter while talking to your friends. If you struggle to understand politics, we explain it from an independent libertarian point of view. With all of the irreverence it deserves, we toss out the screaming heads, put people before political parties, and give context to the news to make you think. Now, here's our host, Chris Spangle, a 15-year veteran of politics and media.
Welcome to the Chris Spangle Show. Again, my name is Chris Spangle. Thank you so much for being here. We have an awesome show for you today. And, this show has always been at the intersection of libertarianism and personal growth and talking a lot about how to build strong communities by building strong individuals. And today's show will be certainly in that wheelhouse, thanks to our guest, Larry Sharpe, and his new book on happiness. So you're going to learn a lot. We start every show by thanking our patrons and the members of Wall Plus, and you can get the show ad-free. You can get the show, all our back catalog, an extra 1,000 episodes going back almost a decade of this podcast, as well as all the old network shows. And you can join at joinwallplus.com. That's WAL+.com. And especially big thanks to our $100 a month members, John Posillo, Casey Feldposh, Lars Nordskog, Jake Edel, Matthew Durbin, Rhinehold, Christy Avery, and Jason Doolittle. So joining us on the program today is our regular co-host, Harry Price. How are you?
Going good. Got my new setup.
It looks nice. Looks very professional. And Rhinehold is also here. How are you?
I'm doing well.
And joining us, Remso. Hey, Remso.
Ever since I saw Harry in a Speedo a few weeks ago, I've just wanted to be around him more often. So thanks for having me.
This is our first live show since our pool party. We will not belabor that since we have a guest, an upstanding citizen. And but the pool party was a great time. If you didn't listen to that last episode where we all got together and, all the co-hosts flew in, I met a dozen people I talk to on a daily basis that are my best friends for the first time in person. And it was a ton of fun, and that episode definitely reflected that. And then our guest today is Larry Sharpe, host of The Sharpe Way with Larry Sharpe, and author of the book on happiness, and podcast host, former candidate, a Marine. Larry, it's so great to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
You forgot all-around cool guy.
All-around cool guy. That's we've never had extensive conversations, but everybody that has ever worked for you, people like our friend Hody and Lou, who hosts the Enemy of My Enemy podcast, all rave about you, and you're well respected for many reasons, as our listeners will hear. And Remso posed to you a question. So I'm engaged. Remso's engaged, and Remso has a question for the wise Larry Sharpe.
I am here,
Larry. I've been trying to convince my fiance to elope instead of doing a regular wedding, because so far, 3 months into wedding planning, it's turned into my own personal apocalypse now. How do I get her to agree with me on eloping?
I did the same thing. I literally packed up and took my wife to Vegas. And we've been married now for 20 years. 2 kids. We have had as good as a marriage could be, I think. I mean, in my own world, I'm clearly biased, but I don't care. And why did I do it? There's many reasons why. Number one, a wedding actually isn't for you and your spouse. A wedding is for everybody else. So it's by default making everybody else happy and punishing you, which is doing it right now. It will also punish her. She thinks that it's going to make her happy because the day is all about her. That's what she believes. She's wrong. The reason why she's failing at this and things are being tough is because she's trying to please everyone else. She's trying to make everyone else see her in a certain way. That's what happens all the time. Instead, she should be focusing on you and her. That will make both of you happier. So 2 of you together should simply find a place, go there. You have to invite exactly nobody, because if you invite anybody, everyone else will feel slighted. So you have to invite exactly nobody, meaning you can't say, well, I'll just bring my mom and dad. Then uncle's pissed off. I'll just bring my one brother. Then the sister's pissed off. I'll just have a best man. Then the other friends go, oh, you don't love me? So no, you invite nobody. Just you 2 go. We had a Lutheran preacher and our videographer. We have a video of it so that everyone could watch and we can look it up if we want to. A videographer was our witness. Vegas is a machine. We got our license and everything, and the cab driver just sat outside and waited for us. And we got our license, and we were married within 2 days. We rented everything. I rented my tux. I picked out my wife's dress.
She let you do that?
Yes, because I'm the one looking at her. So yeah, I'm the one looking at her. Note what I just said. My wedding was about me and my wife, not about everyone else trying to be happy. It was about me and my wife. That's what it was about. I picked out her dress. We got married, and then we stayed in Vegas. We don't really gamble. I don't really do that kind of stuff. It's not my thing. I'm very square. So we literally just watched shows and like a desert tour and took a helicopter ride. And we went to the Grand Canyon and we did all those cool things on our honeymoon. So it was 7 days. Our entire wedding, everything, all in, this was 20 years ago, cost us $6,000.
Yeah.
The entire wedding.
That's the thing. So
that includes travel. Oh, I'm not done, Chris. I'm not even done. He wanted to have an answer. I'm going to give him an answer. I'm still not done. I told everybody, I said, look, we might have a reception later on. That was absolutely not true. That was absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Why did I say that? Because it pacified everybody. But here's the reality. No one even thought about it again. You know why? They don't care.
Right.
They don't care. They act like they care. They don't. It is your punishment. If you never have a reception, no one will ever care, ever. But Larry, I won't get all my gifts. Most of the gifts are garbage anyway. You know they are. You're going to throw half of them out at least. So why are you going to waste time with gifts? Keep the cash in your pocket. You, and I'm assuming your wife creates her own money, or your fiance creates money in some way. Keep your money. Take that money and put it into something that makes sense for you and her. Save it for kids, save it for a house, buy a new car, whatever is the thing that's going to make you guys happy. Stop trying to make everybody else happy when they don't care. And then if you have any other problems, having that extra cash, look, money does not buy happiness, but money does give you more options so that you can make yourself happy. That's what it does do. It does not make you happy, but it does give you more options so that you can have a choice of trying to find your happiness. So keep your money. But here's the best part. If that day is all about everybody else, you're going to actually forget the day. In fact, the day will be just stress. But if that day is only about you and about her, which my wedding was, that when we see our photos of our wedding, we don't think, hey, that's when Bobby threw up on the cake. We don't think that. We don't think that's when that's when Janie's kids were brats and knocked over the kitty litter box. We don't think that stuff. We think, wasn't it great how me and you were together that day? It was about us. And hold on, my picture's right here, literally. That's me and my wife getting married in Vegas. That's the picture right there. I still have it, literally. I didn't know you would ask me that question.
You look genuinely happy.
Yes, genuinely happy. Nothing else. Right here, genuinely happy. Yes, and I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. That picture just sits here. This picture's 20 years old.
Yeah, I have been divorced longer than I was together with my ex-wife, and I still see my friend's mom, and she brings up that I did not invite her to the wedding. I've been a groomsman in 12 weddings. I was a wedding videographer for 2 years. There's always an aunt. There's always a bridesmaid that's causing a problem. There's always a big catastrophe. Yeah, it's a lot of stress. You got to really love the people that are coming.
If anyone's really upset at you and they're really mad at you, that's the best part. Anyone who's really mad at you, that's not a real friend. That's an asshole.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yes.
So you've gotten a taste of Larry Sharpe here, and why you should listen to the Sharpe Way at the Sharpe. Is it sharpeway.com or the sharpeway.com? Sharpeway.com
Sharpeway.com.
with an E.
I don't have to put the. There's only one.
All right.
My podcast, by the way, is the absolute #1 podcast in the world with the name Sharpe in it.
And it has an E in it. So make sure you check it out.
Yes.
So we love on this libertarian podcast talking about anything other than libertarian stuff. We love libertarianism, but the libertarian stuff. And that's one reason that I've always loved what you do, Larry, because you're not trying to be #1 in the libertarian movement, but speaking to people outside of the movement. It's why your run for governor in New York was so successful in building a movement of its own outside of it. And so I'm excited to hear about your book on happiness. Tell us what brought you to write the book? What's the book about? And most importantly, where can people buy it? Let's start there.
Well, I'll walk down all three of those. One of them, why did I write the book? There's several reasons why, but I think one of the biggest ones was people in our libertarian movement, and I'm going down that road, I'm sorry, but it'll be short. Always think, well, the movement is about liberty or freedom, or you own yourself, or insert thing here that someone says, or, the Constitution, or wherever they stand in their world. And what I would say is, no, it isn't. What it's actually about is happiness. Freedom and liberty is the way we can get there, right? The freer we are, the more ability we have to pursue our happiness, the better chance we'll obtain happiness. Freedom and liberty is not an end. It's a means to an end. The end is happiness. So I talk about it all the time, which is why you never hear me talking about libertarian stuff. I talk about happiness because that's how we get there. Not everybody wants to be free. There's a lie that we tell ourselves. It's all about freedom. Everybody wants to be free. No, not everybody does, but everybody wants to be happy. That's true. So why don't we focus on what we can all agree upon? We all want to be happy. We all want to pursue happiness. Literally, our divorce papers from the UK said life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So was that important even back then? So that's the reason why I wrote the book. I wanted to show people that there is a way to move forward with happiness. Now, you might think, well, Larry, is it a political book? No, not at all. There's some stories about me running for office in there, but that's not what it's about. It's about 3 aspects of your life you have to deal with. For someone to actually feel happy, they have to have 3 things. 1, they have to feel respected. 2, they have to feel loved. And 3, they have to have purpose. If you have those 3 things, you'll be happy. Now, there's good and bad to that. Number 1, the odds of you having all 3 at one time, not so high. We lose them often. And that's the second part. It's fleeting. Even if you have it, it will change. Your purpose will shift or adjust, or you'll lose it. You'll not feel loved anymore. You'll not feel respected. You'll lose 1 or 2 of those. And you have to go find them again. There's also 4 ways or 4 arenas that you want to find it in. And you don't have to have all 4. Any one of the 4 will do. Either family, professional, social, and or personal. And I cover all 4 of those. So it's kind of like 12 windows, if that makes any sense. 12 panes of a window. That's how you have to find your happiness. And I talk about all the failures that I have. It's very autobiographical. And it actually starts with me contemplating suicide. That's what the book even talks about. Why would I start in such a dark place? Because most people who will buy a book on happiness aren't happy, right? If you're happy, you're probably not going to buy a book on happiness. But if you're not happy right now, you're probably going to buy the book on happiness. And I want people to know that no matter where you are in life, whether you're contemplating doing something dumb or being self-destructive, whatever it is, that you can achieve happiness if you kind of know where to go. It's kind of a map that shows you how to start to pursue your happiness. And the problem is, if we have all 3, we're happy. If we have 2 of those things, it's relatively easy to find the 3rd. If we have 1, we kind of we're in a holding pattern because we got something. So we're in a holding pattern. But if we have none, we will become self-destructive. That's simply human nature. We will become self-destructive. I don't want people to become self-destructive because self-destructive people also hurt others around them. That's what they always do by default, whether it's openly aggressive or whether it's by breaking people's hearts. Either way, self-destructive people help hurt others. Happy people do good things. They don't fight. They don't protest. They build businesses. They build families. They raise families. They do all types of cool things. Happy people, good idea. Let's be happy. So that's why I wrote the book. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. No, it's a lot of my own journey that listeners here have listened to over the past decade. You know, it's I was trying to seek meaning through doing this or being in politics or trying to look to others for my own self-worth or my own, life. And then finally I listened to this. I read this book by Tucker Max and Jeffrey Miller, and basically they're like, your life sucks because you suck, and you're not focusing on the things that you need to get better at: your physical life, your mental life, your emotional life, your job, your career, And I really started working on that stuff, going to therapy, getting in shape. I've lost 80 pounds, and I'm driving yesterday, and I go, I really robbed myself because I feel like I'm starting life at 37 because I'm finally happy, because I didn't get my own house in order so much sooner. And I'm happy now, and I'm way more effective. So when you talk about your own path to happiness, what was your catalyst in your life where you kind of said, like I did years ago, something's not working, I've got to fix it? What was that thing for you?
I'm going to be good and bad to you. Good in that, well done for you. Bad in that, it's not going to last.
There's always. I once said to a friend, I go, listen, you're always preparing for your next crisis in life, and they're like, that's a very dim way to view life. I'm like, it's the realistic view.
No,
you have
it's
to be
the best way.
You're going to be more
very
prepared.
Clear, but not just more prepared. It's a better way of looking at it here. Remember something: everything is fleeting. Everything is. So when you have joy, embrace it. When you're with somebody, embrace it. It's fleeting. This interview is fleeting. I haven't seen Remso in like 40,000 years. I'm very happy to talk to him. It's why I was so happy to answer his question, right? It's fleeting last time I saw Remso. So that I want to enjoy every moment because it's fleeting. But not just that. When there's pain, that also goes away too. It's all fleeting. If we get that, we can enjoy our joy even more and embrace it, and we can move through our pain because that's going to go away too. So it's not like you're preparing. I don't want you thinking like you're ready to go to war. I mean, if that makes you happy, please do so. But my point is, if we understand it's all fleeting, we can push through the pain and really embrace the joy. So I just wanted to put that piece out there. But the other good part is you have purpose. And once you have purpose, as I said, it's easier to get the other ones, because as you had purpose, you start to gain some self-respect. And as you gain self-respect, other people around you saw what was happening. So they began to respect you too. You also, because you were respected, you became more attractive. So you began to find love. Maybe not family love, romantic love, and maybe you did. But either way, you found platonic love, you found professional love, you found other love because you were respected. And that's why you become happy.
So what was that? Was there a catalyst for you? Was there like a moment?
There were several of them. One is when I was a kid, my father died when I was 12. That was one. And I was struggling to find purpose for years. And what helped me tremendously was the Marine Corps. I joined the Marines at 17. That was my purpose. When that happened, that was it. I had purpose. But that went away. So I became a teacher. And then that was good for a while, but then that went away. So I think many times as I've searched for purpose, one thing I was very lucky in one way is my mom was very loving. So except for there was several years when she was an addict, and I lost her for those several years. But when I got her back, I felt loved. And when I was young, I always felt loved. For the several years she was an addict, I didn't, because if you have an addict in your life, you know that when it comes to you or the drug, they pick the drug. They're an addict. That's how it works. So at that time I didn't. But before and after, I often felt loved. The Marine Corps gave me respect, which was good too. But I think another time when this happened, excuse me, is after the crash. That was probably the crash 2008, 2009. That was probably the worst for me. All at the same time, back to back, my youngest daughter was in the hospital and she almost died. She had to have open heart surgery at 19 days old. At the same time, my wife packed up and moved into the hospital to be with her. Well, I had to become a single dad to my, at that time, 6-year-old. And I was not the primary caregiver. So that was a huge change. On top of that, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer the same week. And I was finally wrapping up and shutting down my business that was crashing from 2009. Like 2010, it was over. I'd already shut my office down, fired my employees. So everything was collapsing at that time. And then I had an option. Do I collapse or do I keep moving forward? And the trigger that really got me, believe it or not, was my weight. As I said, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. It's not my thing. So I ate my feelings. That was my drug of choice, was eating. So I literally put on like 25 pounds in like a month and a half or some crazy amount. I forgot how much I put on. I just exploded. I was eating, and I tell the story. I was eating an entire pizza and a 2-liter of Coke for like lunch. And I was like, it's such denial. I was like, this is normal. Everybody does this. Of course. Because I was in total denial. I was not accepting where I was. And as I got so big, I had to get back in action and try to rebuild my professional life. And I physically couldn't fit in my suits. That was my wake-up call. When I'm trying to close the pants, I'm like, okay, this ain't happening. Wow. That was another wake-up call that I had, that I really realized that I can't even do my job. My God, what have you done? Right?
Yeah, I think your physical health is such a I was never physically fit, and Rupert, when he ran for governor in 2012, had a professional photographer, so I kept seeing all these photos of me in a tight little tie-dye 3X t-shirt, and I'm like, good Lord. And learning how to exercise and be consistent is so instructive in other areas for building willpower. Yes. What is it about, especially as a Marine? I'm sure you learned a lot did you go to Paris Island or San Diego?
No, I'm a real Marine, Paris Island.
All right. You guys even fight within the Marines. There's internecine warfare.
We do. Yes.
But what is it about physical exercise that you found is so instructive for other areas?
It wasn't physical exercise. It was getting a hold of it. Mine was through diet. Right. I'm not against physical exercise. I think it's wonderful. I still exercise. I still want to be in shape. I still look at in my head. For those of you who are Marines, you'll know, or around Marines know, that 3 miles is like the number you're supposed to be able to run. If you can run 3 miles, you're in shape. If you can't, you're not. That's just like a Marine thing, right? So I still think about that as my way of being able to do it. And that's basically a 5K. And so I've always said to myself, I've got to be able to run a 5K. If I can run a 5K and complete it without stopping, I'm in shape. And at that point, I was clearly not. That was not going to happen. So that's always been my measure on how I measure myself. But what I did was I was actually on no carb, low carb. That's what I did. Because where my head was at that time, I didn't think I was prepared to come up with some kind of regimen that would do me justice. So I had to find something that was simple, but to your point, it had to be hard enough that I could feel like I've accomplished something. And for me, I mean, I love sugar. I love sweet stuff, but I used to exercise so much that didn't matter. And I use it as a drug. So when I'm happy, I don't eat as much, if that makes any sense. I eat less when I'm happy. I eat more when I'm not. So what I did was say no carb, low carb. And I was a fanatic. And I mean a fanatic. This is not healthy. But however, for me at this point, it was healthy. I was having, like, I'm not joking, steak, eggs, coffee, and water for 2 months straight. Now, while that's not healthy at all for your body, you probably shouldn't do that. However, to your point, Chris, it was amazing for my psyche. The ability for me to feel like, yes, look what I did. I was that disciplined that I could only eat basically 4 things for 2 months. And by the way, I lost 40 pounds in 2 months. It just fell off of me. It fell off of me. And I didn't want to lose 40. I want to lose 25. So I was skinnier than when I started. So I then changed my diet, by the way, after.
Yeah. Is it the focus? Do you think it's paying attention to that area of your life that makes the difference?
It was grossly simple. I wanted something that was 2 things. And this is for me. It doesn't work for everybody. I'm saying for me specifically. I knew who I was and how it worked for me. I wanted something very simple and very hard. Simple and difficult. Does that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Simple, but difficult. There's a difference between easy and simple, right? Simple means it's simple to do. Easy means anybody can do it.
There's no resistance. There's got to be resistance.
I wanted heavy resistance, but simple. I don't have to count calories, get dressed, put my shoes on, come up a schedule when I'm going to work out. I want it grossly simple. Don't eat carbs. Got it. Even a knucklehead Marine like me can figure that one out. Don't eat carbs, right? I made it simpler. Eat meat, eggs, coffee, water. I made it simpler. That's all I could eat. Those 4 things. That's it. Here's some food. Is it meat? No. Is it eggs? No. I can't eat it. Done. So grossly simple and difficult. So after I started to see the difficulty that I was doing and losing the weight, which again was my measure, my goal, I could see my goal. I could see it happening. All of a sudden, I found myself able to take care of other areas of my life. Chris, you're completely right. I took control of other areas of my life once I took control of that first. Small victories will create larger victories, right? When you're failing, when you're in a bad spot, you should not swing for the fences. When you're in a bad spot, get a single. Get a single, then get a double, then get a triple, then get a home run. Slow victories, small victories will create larger ones. If you go for the big one and you lose, you will be devastated. Go for the smaller one, win, and then keep going. And I think that's for me.
Yeah, I mean, these people who want to control other people's lives, I mean, controlling what goes in my mouth and comes out of my mouth is the only concern that I mostly have. Like, because it's the biggest struggle I have. I can't worry about anybody else. But Harry, jump in here. You're the most physically fit. You could wear a Speedo at the pool party and not be ashamed. I would cause a hate crime.
Photos exist.
They do, but they're Harry's property to post. But yeah, I mean, jump in here, Harry.
All right, so a couple of questions I have for that because, I'm interested in fitness and dieting. Did you eat that entire meal like at one time, or did you spread it out throughout the day?
No, at that point, I wanted it to be simple. So whenever I was going to eat, I made sure it was only that. I didn't want to have to think about when I was going to eat or how I was going to eat. It was very simple. If I couldn't find that food, then I didn't eat.
Okay. Yeah.
That was it. It was grossly simple. If meat, eggs, coffee, and water was available, I would eat it. If it wasn't, I didn't eat. It was that simple. What I found is, if anyone's ever been on a low carb, no carb diet, after a couple of days, you lose your hunger.
Yep.
You're just not hungry anymore. And because you're not having blood sugar spikes at all because you're not having any carbs. So there's no blood sugar spikes, nothing. So I wasn't hungry. I would very often go 16 hours without eating and wouldn't even feel hungry very often. And I still do to this day. I've been on it for 11 years. So I'm still on it. That's how I keep my weight down. It's a lifestyle change. It wasn't, I don't believe diets work. Lifestyle changes work. So for me, it was a lifestyle change. So I still to this day am on it. Once in a while, I'll break, like for my birthday and such. I'll like have cake on my birthday. Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise I stay on it.
Yeah, diets are great for like small like mini cuts and stuff like that for a small session, but you will revert. But if the plan is to revert, that's perfectly fine. Like the month of August, I've got a mini cut going on. I'm dropping down to 1,500 calories, but but that's for a small time of August. I will not be able to maintain 1,500 calories in this specific diet for longer than a month. I know myself.
My rule has just always been, if it's been alive in the last 30 days, it's allowed in the house. Everything else is not. And I've been failing at that the last month, and I'm gaining weight, but I've lost 10 pounds a year over the, it's not hard. It's just, you just don't buy certain things at the grocery store. You keep it out of the house. But let's Remso, Rhinehold, I don't know if you want to jump in here at this point and ask a question, and we'll move on, or I can move us on to something else.
Yeah, Rhinehold.
Oh, I just wanted to kind of echo a lot of what you've gone through, because I've had similar issues in my life with like 10 years ago, there was a major change that happened to me in my situation in my life. My wife, we found out that she had stage 4 cancer, and that really takes your life and what you think the path is going to be and what you're going down and throws it in a huge tailspin. And it takes a lot of effort to stop worrying about everybody else and everything else and dealing with all the stuff that I had to deal with, and remember that I had to also kind of make myself happy in some way. Right. And because there was a long time period there where I just completely ignored my thoughts and needs and desires and everything else because I had to. That's just the focus I had to make. So yeah, I can definitely speak to what you went through there. Also, I am former military, but I was Navy, so obviously.
Well, someone's got to take us to battle. It's fine.
Right.
We always saw the Marines as we would we would drop off the Marines, put them on the beach, pull back, and then shell the beach that they were on. So we always thought that was a fun time. But
you always thought, I hope some of you are alive when we come back.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll see what's left when we come back and pick you up.
Yes.
No, it's just kind of more of the way I look at life and more of a Taoist type of view is that even the bad things are things that make you appreciate the good times in life and the happy times in life. So you kind of, if you can take that and say, okay, I'm experiencing terrible things right now, but I know that once I get through it, I'm really going to appreciate things, and you can see an end to it, and you can make a path towards that. I think that really helps too, because if you start focusing on the negative, and you can tailspin and put yourself in a position that it's almost impossible to get out of. So you need to try to avoid that as well.
I want to touch that real fast. That was so good, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that that piece. Sometimes when there are times, I've talked a lot of people basically off a ledge. If that makes any sense. I mean, literally, there's times when some of my veteran friends I've dealt with where I literally ask them, okay, can you tell me where the gun is right now? And they're like, it's a man. Can you put it in a bed? Okay, good. So it's on a bed now. Like that point. That's the kind of thing that I've dealt with sometimes here or there. And I do it for people in the movement too. And one of the things I want you, if you're listening or thinking about this, and you've just so good, Rhinehold, the person who's in trouble, if you decide to take your own life or to be self-destructive, you're actually being selfish. And you're being selfish for two reasons. Number one, you can be somebody's purpose. And when someone's in trouble, there are so many people who really want to help. They love you. They care about you. They want to help you. But you've cut yourself off, or thought you're not worthy, or convinced yourself that it doesn't matter, or convinced yourself that people are better off without you. All of that is lies. The reality of it is you're in denial, and you should let somebody help you, because you can be somebody's purpose. That's important to understand. And
Larry,
second, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And second, when you feel pain, you think, if I end this, the pain goes away. It doesn't. You just transferred it to your loved ones. That's all you just did. The pain doesn't go away. You've transferred it to your loved ones. So if you're in trouble, don't be selfish. If you're in trouble, let others help you. They want to. That's their purpose. Rhinehold, you speak about this, and it's obvious it was a tough time for you, but there's a bit of pride in it for you. There's a bit of love in it for you, because you know you did the right thing. So from someone else's pain and bad spot, you did find purpose, and now you have pride from it. This is a part of life, and we can draw strength, and we can draw happiness even from pain. And is your wife still with us?
She is. She's actually beaten a lot of the odds, but it's taken a huge toll on her. She is not.
Yep.
2.5 years of chemotherapy can really destroy a body, and she's
Absolutely.
going through a lot. And I'm just trying to help her get through that. And it's
and I then want to go to the second piece, that even when you're the caregiver, which is what you've become, the caregiver has to care about themselves too. Their happiness also matters. It is surprising how often the caregiver eventually gets sick and ill too, because they ignore their own self. So you also have to find that balance.
That happened to me too. There
we go.
Spent the first few years just ignoring my thought, what I was going on with my body, and I finally had a wake up call going to one of my physicals, because I just avoided going to the doctor for a couple of years. I was just focused on getting her to the doctor every week and doing all the work and everything, and trying to maintain the job and keeping everything going. And then when I finally, my wife's like, you need to go to the doctor too. You're having some issues. So I went to the doctor, and it was a wake up call, because the physical stuff come back, and there were things that were in that I had been not taken care of. And so it's like, you need to take care of yourself so that you can still take care of her. Yes. And you got to take care of yourself. But it took me years to come to that. I need to think about me too once in a while, and make sure that I'm still happy and moving forward. So,
because it feels wrong. Yeah, no, I think
I feel like I'm cheating, or I'm doing the wrong thing, or I'm not being responsible. I'm not taking care of her. And it's just, you get into your own head so much with that,
Yes.
and you have to you have to accept that it's okay to think about yourself once in a while.
It's not just okay, it's good.
Yeah, I want to give just a big shout out. First, I want to give a plug for a podcast that I've produced for years called Caregiver Crossing. My friends at Joy's House, who run a adult daycare for folks with Alzheimer's and mental declination. They have a great podcast that helps folks work through what Rhinehold's been working through. And I want to give an enormous thank you and just give Rhinehold some love, because he has been really for a long time working hard to make sure that his family is stable, and it's tough on him. And one of the best things about We Are Libertarians is that he's found a group of people that can help support him and be that sounding board when there's nobody else to go to, which leads me to my next point with Larry. You talk a lot about
Remso had something he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm sorry, Chris. I'll hijack it for just 2 minutes.
You blew up my perfect transition. Go ahead, Remso.
The monologue is ruined. Larry, I don't know if you remember this, but in it was either 2017, 2018, you called me after I had reached out to you. I was going through some really difficult times. I've joked about it, on my show and some others before. The lowest point in my life wasn't when I was selling Chinese makeup to strippers. It was actually when I thought about, packing up my Kia Soul and driving to Michigan to do a Kid Rock for Senate super PAC. And it was really just me trying to escape just a really hard point. I was broke. I had no friends. I was failing at everything. And I kept trying to put on this brave face that everything is okay, but it wasn't. And, I was at an annual training with my National Guard unit. I was, I wasn't gonna be going for a promotion anytime soon. It was just compounding failures. And you went ahead and called me. And, I said, Larry, there are these things I want to do. My biggest fear is I'm afraid of failure. And you were like, well, what happens if you fail? You're just back at where you are. You should at least try and do it at least. And I couldn't give you an answer on any of that stuff. And I mean, you were doing this while you were running for governor. You didn't have to take the time to call me, but you did. And I thought about it for a while. And it was also one of the reasons why I canceled my first show, because I really had to define, it's like, what is success at the end of the day? And it wasn't popularity. It wasn't money. It wasn't all these things. I distilled it down. It was the fact that I am miserable doing this. And this thing that I used to do to bring me joy in my life and connect me with people, it felt more like a drain. So then from there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be radically honest with myself, and I'm going to do things that I want to do because it genuinely makes me happy. I wrote a book, and people were like, well, you're not qualified to write a book. Why are you doing it? Because I love to write and I want to write a book. I did a TV show for 3 seasons about getting locked in old abandoned buildings, talking to dead people. And people were like, why is he doing a ghost hunting show? And I'm like, because it's freaking cool. It makes me happy. And it's also one of the reasons why when I came back to podcasting to do On the Run, I was like, it's not going to be a libertarian show. It's going to be a libertarian about me trying to find happiness and freedom in my own life. Because at the end of the day, and I'm a big fan of Ryan Holiday and the Stoic teachings and everything else. It was like, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And I know that. And I kept thinking, well, none of this matters. I'm just going to die one day. But there's a certain liberation in that, because it's like, yeah, that will happen one day. And that's outside of my control. But I get all this room to live an amazing life if I choose it. And that phone call you did with me for about half an hour before you had to run off and go to a meeting with your staff, it really did impact my life. And I don't think I ever said thank you enough for that.
I appreciate that, brother. I do remember that call. Of course I do. I remember those calls, but I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't know if you wanted to share it. So I kept my mouth shut. But of course, I'm glad that it was good. I'm glad that it worked for you. I think you're totally right. I mean, the idea of there is a glory to being human that too many humans don't understand. And the glory is we are the only creatures that get to decide what our life will mean. No other creature gets to decide that but us, right? If you're a dog or a cat or an eagle or a fish or whatever you are, octopus, whatever you are, you don't get to decide. We do. So our life has the value that we decide it will have. Our mission is whatever we decide. We are so lucky. It is so glorious to be human. But something else. My daughter one day was upset because my mother had passed. And it was her grandma, and she was sad, and she was sad about death. And I said something that sounds kind of morbid, but if you get it, you'll understand. And you basically touched it, Remso. I said, death is a gift. We should be lucky that we're going to die. And she's like, what? I said, yeah. I said, the fact that I know I'm going to die makes me want to do things. If I was going to live for 4,000, 10,000 years, I'd just, I don't know, play video games all day. What would I care, right? I got 4,000 years. I'll go to college in 4,000 years. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it, right? Yeah, I'll go do that thing in 10,000 years from now. Look, I'm only 4,000 years old. When I'm 50,000, then I'll start talking about doing things, right? That's what I would do. I'd be procrastinating forever. But the fact that I do get older, that I do see things decay, that I do watch people around me get hurt and get ill and even die is the thing that makes me go, I better get off my ass and do something. It's the reason why I want to achieve things. And the second piece, the Stoic piece you talked about, one of my favorite books is the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. It is a book by the greatest swordsman of Japan ever. It's a real book, and it's actually mistranslated. It's not the Book of Five Rings, the Book of Five Scrolls. It was mistranslated. They use rings to keep the scrolls, so they screwed up in translation. But it's actually a book. It's actually a book about sword fighting. And you would say, well, why does that matter? Because it's really in my view, the best book of Bushido, which is the way of the warrior. And the concepts brought up in there are things like when you fight with the big sword in your right hand and the small sword in your left hand. Why? Offense is better than defense. You've got to make sure that you are fighting. You've got to be on the offensive. You can't win a war on defensive. You got to be on the offensive, but still defend yourself. But you've got to be fighting. The big sword and the powerful arm is the offense. You've got to be on offense. You can't be on defense, number one. Second, you don't have to kill all the people around you. Kill one or two, the rest will run. So it isn't as bad as you think, right? You've just got to focus on that. Kill a couple of them, the rest will run. So it isn't as bad as you think. You aren't up against the world. Drop a couple people, the rest will flee. It's fine. The next thing he talks about is when you're in a sword fight, let your enemy do whatever they want to do, whatever they want. Your goal is to kill. Let them jump around. Do what they want. Great. Kill. That's your goal. So don't let people bother you. Don't let people get in your head. Instead, focus on what you got to do. And in this case, is to kill your guy or to kill enough people so the rest of them run, whatever the case may be. That's the goal. But one of the biggest things he says is understand that you're already dead. Understand that all that matters is your legacy. That's all that matters because you're already dead. Just accept you will be dead and your legacy is what matters. I've taken that one step forward, which is if I understand that I'm already dead and I want my legacy, then I should realize for my other piece, everything's ephemeral and goes away. Everything is fleeting. All that matters is two things, my legacy and right now. This second that we have right now, which is why people often tease me. They go, whenever I'm with you, Larry, like you're like with me, like it's intense. You're like with me. Yes, because I know that right now matters. And if I focus on the right now and put everything into it, I will by default have a better legacy. That's how it works. I don't have to focus on my legacy. I focus on the right now, interacting with the people that I'm with. And by default, I will hopefully, I hope have hundreds of stories like you just said, Remso. I hope I have hundreds of them. I hope thousands of them. I hope I have so many of those stories of people that have been affected by something I've done that my legacy is amazing. That's what I hope. And if I focus, when I saw you and I called you, I focused on you. When I'm in front of people that I'm talking to, I focus on them. If you focus on the here and now, you'll have a better legacy.
So I want before we move on to family stuff, I want to bring up something because Remso kind of touched on I'm gonna flee my problems and move to Michigan and work for this political thing. And
Spoiler alert, Kid Rock was lying.
No.
Oh, no.
You mean the guy that grew up in a mansion pretending to be poor for a living? Yeah.
Shocked.
The folks, I was at PorkFest when I had this realization. I was talking to a guy who said, if I hadn't found the libertarian movement and the Free State Project, I would be dead. I've found meaning through this project, through libertarianism. I view politics as a means to protect my happiness. We need this political system to protect the individual's ability to achieve their own self-actualization. Other people, I think, sometimes get into it because they're looking for meaning, and we often find too much meaning in the philosophy, we deify writers, and we deify, and I'm sure you've run into a lot of these folks who kind of I have nothing else going on in my life, so I've got to protect this. So if you criticize libertarians, I'm going to attack you. What would you say to a young person getting into politics who's kind of becoming obsessed with this stuff? Like, how do you keep a healthy balance between focusing on what you need to focus on and getting involved in politics?
Was that to me?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Don't do it. I'm kidding.
That's a fair answer, to be honest.
Good answer.
But what I tell a lot of youngsters come to me, right? And my youngster level changes, right? Because as I get older, my level of youngster and old person goes either way, right? I'm 53, so I go 20 years either way. If you're 74 years or older, you're old. If you're 32 years or younger, you're young. That's it. That's how I do it. And as I move, it moves. That's how it works, right? I go 20 years either way. But when a lot of the youngsters come to me and say, "Hey, Larry, I want to do more. How do I get involved? I want to do so and so." I go, "How you doing financially right now?" They, "What do you mean?" "Well, I'm in between jobs." Blah. No. You want to help the movement? Get your money right. You want to help the movement? Move yourself forward. Be happier. The movement should not be the thing for you. You should be able to support the movement. Otherwise, you're going to wind up having the movement support you. That's not the answer, right? You never want to be running away from something. You want to be running towards something, right? That's always the best way. There's a difference between being routed and withdrawing. If you're in the field and get routed, you're just running away from the enemy. If you're in the field and you're withdrawing, you're pulling back to a new position. And that's fine. There's a big difference. So I don't want them rushing to our movement to be forward with you. I want them getting themselves better. If they're going to spend 40 hours a week or 20 hours a week volunteering on a campaign, why do that unless that's going to be a career of yours, right? If you're saying that's going to be my career, well done. Please do that if that's your career. If that's a hobby, you're just making sure you're going to be struggling to pay your rent. Why would you do that? I don't want you struggling to pay your rent. I want you becoming more powerful so you can make real impact, right? I'm 18 years old and I don't have a job, so let me volunteer in a campaign for 40 hours. Don't get me wrong. I want your help. I do when I run. I want your help. Of course I do. But if I have a choice between that or you squaring yourself away with your own life, I'll find somebody else. Go square yourself away because you'll be far more valuable to the movement 5 years later when you are stable. So I want youngsters to grow themselves unless they think politics is their career. That's a different issue. If you think politics is your career, please stay in politics, do the thing. That's your life. Go ahead. But to try to find meaning someplace, find meanings in some other area of your life, become stronger. So what am I saying? You should have boundaries on what you're going to do for politics. And the problem is, in our party particularly, but many of them, but ours in particular, we have a lot of people who are fanatical. Why? Because the most zealous are the converted. And most of the people who are libertarians are converted. So when they convert and come to us, they are zealots and they are all about it. And come on, Chris, you're not a real libertarian. Why won't you do this or do that or do this? Right? That's what we get all the time. Well, I would like Chris to instead make his own boundaries and decide how much he's willing to deal and give and do. And that's fine. And what I would ask you, if someone's listening and you're helping on a candidate, please be clear with your candidate or with your movement. If you're with the movement at the party, be clear about what you're prepared to give. Larry, I'm going to give you 2 hours a week. That's what you get. Okay. And if you're a candidate, be clear in what you're asking for. Remso, I need 2 hours a week, man. Can you give me 2 hours a week? And Remso goes, yes or no. If he says yes, stand by 2 hours a week. The rest of your life, do your life. But give me the 2 hours, right? Or whatever that thing is. Mm-hmm. So candidates should be clearer. People who are on a movement should be clearer. And the youngsters should also be clearer. What are you going to give me? I'll give you 2 hours a week. Okay. Or whatever the time is. So I think you want to spend your time being better and just dipping your foot into this. It'd be same thing. If I liked video games, right? Should I play video games 16 hours a day? If I'm going to be a professional video gamer, yeah, that's my career. I'm going to make money winning tournaments. Okay, yes, do that. But if I'm not a professional video gamer, or if I'm not a streamer where I'm making money, where I'm streaming video games online and making money, if that's not my job, then I should limit myself in some way, right? I'm going to play only on Saturdays or 3 hours a day or whatever is the thing that you're going to do. Although the same thing, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's video games or politics or whatever it is. If it's your career, awesome. If you're making money, you're paying your bills on it, 16 hours a day is fine. You're not paying your bills on it, you got to limit it.
Yeah, I mean, I anybody who hosts a podcast, Larry is the exception, has an ego, and you see people speaking at Freedom Fest, or you see.
I have my name is on, I have an ego. My name is on my podcast.
Right. You know what Larry has done is he goes and speaks and he writes books and he has his own staff and does all this stuff. And I sit here and I go, man, I could totally do that. I'd love to do that. Why isn't everybody talking about how great my show is? Why are they always mentioning that guy? And then I sit there and I go, okay, I could do that, but it requires me spending money here, spending money, hiring these people. It means traveling for my family. It means taking away every time I say yes to something, it's a no to my fiance and future stepdaughter. And how much do I want to do? Do I want to be on the road speaking at college groups every week? Do I want to be, and I've just decided that my 5 to 10 hours a week of running this network and doing these shows, that's my thing. And I focus on my job, and you have to have boundaries. And I think sometimes people are attracted to libertarianism because it's an excuse. It's a license forever. Excuse me, associate producer, I'm on a meeting. I will put this in the bag. Thank you. But you have to, it's not a license to do whatever you want. It demands self-discipline. And Harry, you were shaking your head. What do you want to say?
I was going to say because that's a lot of the converted thing. That's what you see when you see a lot of people who the first time they get the first taste of libertarianism, they're in it to win it. They want to know what they can do, or like they just jumped from the other party and they want to do this. They want to volunteer, and they're there all the time. They're doing it all the time there, and it's great. The energy is great, but I think Chris has also said it on several different episodes, like, you'll do this and you'll burn yourself out. You have to go do something else. You will burn yourself out, and you'll be, not useless to the liberty movement, but you'll burn yourself out and you'll be gone for like 6 years.
We say it all the time. The best thing you can do for the liberty movement is not liberty movement stuff. It's start a business or work for a nonprofit or start a nonprofit.
Yep. Even in the Free State Project, you watch people who moved there instantly, got there, burnt themselves out, right? And then was just quiet. And only now if they're talking about, all right, I'm back now. I'm like, yeah, because you burnt yourself out, and if you go off and you put your house in order, you're more able to help out. You're more able to donate to campaigns. And then you find yourself in different positions to be able to speak to different people. And they can understand that, libertarians aren't some creepy person in the basement. This person is like, this guy is a mentor. He's teaching me all these things about how to interact with people in business and like just in computer stuff. And it's like, but he's a libertarian. So I can talk about all these different things because I went and, developed myself on life. And I didn't sit there and just play video games or sit in the liberty movement, just read liberty books for like 16 hours a day. I read technical books, let's see, like, I think I have the book of the 5 Scrolls on my belt. I can't see it right now, but I do have The Unfettered Mind, which I do recommend if you've never read The Unfettered Mind. Here. Yep. It's a great book. It's a great book. And it's those books like that help yourself out that you could read. I don't get why other people, like, they say they can't get ahead, I can't do anything, but they end up, they scramble all the time of rushing up the ladder of success, but it's leaning against the wrong building. Okay. Like, they scramble up and like, I'm doing all the work, but like, that's the wrong building. You're on the wrong building. You're not going to get anywhere with that building.
Yeah. I love what you said. It's right on the money. You don't want to burn yourself out to the point where you're not valuable enough. Right. And Chris, to your point, I agree. I mean, if you're trying to get your money right, and Remso, you know this, you've seen this happen. I know you have. Some of the guys may have also. But the issue is you don't want to think of yourself as a per hour person. You want to start thinking about how can you build value for the people around you. People don't want to pay for your time. People want to pay for a result, a perceived value or result. So they want to pay for. And if I were to decide, well, I'm just going to charge, X dollars per hour for my coaching or my training or my teaching, nobody would pay it because the fee's way too high. But if I instead say, you want this thing, it's this amount of money. And they go, oh, okay. There's no way I could charge the fees that I charge. To be forward, some of you realize I produce somewhere around 10 to 12 hours of live content every week personally. There's no way I could produce 10 to 12 hours of live content. To your point, prepare for these things, do these types of that I'm doing now, handle my wife who doesn't work and 2 kids and live in New York City if I couldn't charge very high fees. Right. So you have to be able to charge high fees to do that kind of thing. And that's not a per hour piece. It's building value. Why do people sponsor my show? Because I build value. Building value is the key, right? That's the key, is building value. And whatever you do people find value in it? If you think I'm good at what I do, nobody cares. I'm smart. Nobody cares. I'm great. Nobody cares. I bring value to people. Now I care. That's the most important piece. Do you bring value? Does it mean you shouldn't be smart? You should be. Does it mean you shouldn't be good? You should be. But if you can't put that into something that somebody values, it is irrelevant. That's my point. You've got to put whoever you are, what you do, how powerful you are into some way that shows that you are valuable. If you can do that, you'll be fine.
Well, one of the biggest things that I think has benefited me both emotionally and financially is that I have to remind myself this basically every day. I have to safeguard my time like it's the only commodity that matters ultimately. And I mean, I had this happen. I spoke about this recently. It was this funny situation after I had left Parler in December of 2020. I had this, I call it like the LinkedIn mafia, this person who's always a CEO and an advisor. And it's like, what do you actually do for a job? And this person reached out to me and he was like, hey, I saw you left and obviously you need work. How about you come and you be an advisor and help me make my own social media company? I said, well, okay, I can only do so much because of legal stuff, but here's what I'm willing to charge in order to get you the results you wanted. And he literally sent me the Dr. Evil meme where it's like, how about no? And I'm like, what? Did this guy just send me a meme as a response? What the hell? And he said, well, how about this? How about we get on a phone call and we kind of go over your skill set and credentials and then we negotiate a price. Fair? Now, at the time, could I have probably used the money? Yeah, but I also didn't necessarily need it. And it was one of those situations where it's like, if this person who came to me and sung my praises and knew what I could give him is now treating me like this, and this is a grown-ass man, is this the type of person I want to give 15 minutes of my time to? Because for people like that, it's never 15 minutes. It's always 30 minutes or an hour. Yep. And then you've gotten to like 10 billable hours and you still haven't seen a dime. I have said, no, thank you. Have a good day.
Yes. Which is why very often you'll see me say things like, you should either do something for free or at a great price. That's it. Don't do it for a bad price. A bad price makes you unhappy, them unhappy. So just give it away, in which case, hey, I'm giving it away. Whatever happens, happens. Or here's my price. And it's a good price. You don't like it. I understand. Have a nice day. Those are your 2 ways. And I'll touch 2 pieces if I could on this. The first one is how I became a coach. I didn't want to be a coach. I was going to be a trainer, a consultant, a teacher, not a coach. But I started my business in 2004. And within 2 years, I was exploding, doing very well. And I was actually in the investment banking world. But when I first began, I was a nobody. So the people who were picking me up weren't big banks. They were individual, small, entrepreneurs, 2-person shops, 1-person shops, those types of things. So I never tell people no. I just price them out, right? So you want me to come wash your car, Remso? Absolutely. I'll do it every week. $5,000 a week. Now, why do I say that price? Because if you actually paid me $5,000, I would actually wash your car. Like I would do it. So I pick a number that I would actually do. I also know you would never pay me $5,000 to wash your car. So we're both happy, right? No matter what, we're both happy. You go, no, thanks, Larry, way too expensive. Okay, great. But if you happen to go, no, I really want pictures of Larry Sharpe washing my car and I'm prepared to pay $5,000 for it, I'll wash your car. Not a problem. We're good. So you find a price that you actually want. So I did that. So a guy asked me, the investment banker, my first time in investment banking. So I didn't understand the world at all. So the guy says, Larry, I think you're much more of an influence guy. You can help me personally. Can you coach me? I said, sure, absolutely. I want $5,000. I want it up front. No guarantees. We'll see when we can meet. We'll see what happens. No entrepreneur accepts that deal. No entrepreneur accepts that deal. He was like, okay, wrote the check right there. Why? And I was like, I guess I'm a coach. Holy crap. Okay. And the reason why he said yes is that guy makes $3 million a year. I didn't know that. I was ignorant. I didn't know the field. If I help him close one deal, he puts $250,000 in his pocket. He doesn't care about my $5,000. He doesn't care. It's not, whatever. Okay. He wrote me the check there. Like he pulled his checkbook out of his desk. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm a coach now. And that's how I became a coach. So my point being is you've got to know what your value is. And I only told him a couple of times a month. I mean, my per hour rate was insane, but he felt value and he stayed with me for a year. So it was crazy, right? I was making tons of money because he thought I was giving him value. And I was. He was closing deals because of me. So it was great. So that's piece. But it's the second piece I want to bring up too. Your individual skill set is valuable. Of course it is. But if you can't delegate, you're in trouble. Number one thing is to find what you're not good at and get other people to do it. Chris, you brought it up. I've had a team forever. To be forward, at least 2/3 of the stuff, if not 3/4 of the stuff you see online is not done by me. My team responds to people. My team does stuff. My team posts things. My team acts as me. They all have access to my calendar. I didn't know I had this podcast until yesterday. I looked at my calendar. Oh, okay, I'm on this podcast. That's how things work in my world. I outsource everything. I didn't know I was on this podcast. I'm like, oh, I better get up in the morning because I can't sleep in. I got Chris in the morning. That's literally what happened.
If I'm being honest, I do everything myself, so I didn't know yesterday until I looked at my calendar either. So
here we go. So
I'm a mess, and you're on the ball.
Yes, I don't. People often tease me, like I'll be in the business and they'll say, "Larry, have we paid you yet? Did you get billing?" And I go, I don't know. I don't do my own billing, so I don't know. So I have no idea if I get paid. I don't know how much money I have. Please don't go this far. I'm a fanatic when it comes to this, and you shouldn't go this far. But I couldn't tell you how much money I have in the bank. I don't know. I just show up, right? I just go, okay, show up. I'm okay. Where do I go? I go there. So I spend a lot of time outsourcing a lot of my world. But that can be a problem too. I probably go too far sometimes, and I'm trusting. So it's one reason why people like working for me is I am very trusting. I give people a lot of leeway. I'm also very forgiving. People have screwed me over many times. And I do this because I'm a consultant, the business consultant. And I tell people all the time, one of my favorite stories, a guy's going to fire a guy. He made a big mistake. I forgot what it was. I make the number up because I've forgotten the number. I'm going to say the number is $30,000 because just so we have a number. Guy makes a mistake for $30,000. The boss is like, I got to fire this guy. I'm like, why? He made a $30,000 mistake. I said, so you just paid $30,000 to train him and you're going to give him to somebody else? I don't get that. Is he sorry? Did he make a mistake? Is it repairable? Well, yeah, he can fix it. I said, well, you just spent $30,000 on him. Give him a chance to redeem himself, and he'll be loyal, and he'll be even better than he's ever been. Or you can fire him. He's learned his lesson with you. You got to find somebody else, train them, hope they don't make a $30,000 mistake, and you've given somebody else a better employee. Why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense. Forgiveness is good.
I have started a podcast consultancy business, and I've hired a business coach, and I've been struggling through the whole concept of charging and what to charge. And gosh, this is a lot of money. And I was telling her a story as we were walking out last time, and she goes, yeah, my parents made me afraid of being rich too. Or no, it was my parents made me afraid of wealthy people too. And a lightning bolt hit me, and I was like, am I afraid of rich people? Because I consider myself, my business partner, Robert, over at the Leaders and Legends podcast goes, you grew up a lower middle class kid on the west side. I grew up a poor kid on the east side. People's concepts of money that you're going to be pitching are much different than yours. Your concept of what you're worth and what is a lot to you means nothing to them. And so do you want to do this thing for this price and be unhappy? No. Well, but what if we don't get the business? You'll find somebody else. And it's very much an abundance mindset of like stop thinking in these little boxes and the small ways. And that's so much of what turns me off about our party, about our movement, is that small thinking and accepting less poorer quality, because we're just actually kind of afraid of being successful. Mm-hmm. And, what I love about what you're doing, TK Coleman and some others, what we try to do here is take that perception of Ayn Rand selfishness and we're all just out to get rich and turn it on its head, because I want to be successful in every area of my life, including financially, because I want to give back to my community. I want to help build a better world. And I think that it's a different type of hold on just a second, honey. I'm so sorry, everybody. We have a toddler. Like I said before, libertarians don't want a tyrant, but then they have toddlers and they walk around and yell at everybody. But, you know, Larry, like, a key part of that is family. And I wanted to end on this. You talked about some struggles with your wife. We talked about Dennis and what he's gone through. Friends and family are a key part of that support system. Yes. Talk about the importance of family when it comes to success.
Well, the reality of it is family doesn't have to be what people would think family is. It doesn't have to be you have your mom and dad supporting you. That can work. Absolutely. Doesn't have to be a wife or a husband or a spouse. That can work. Doesn't have to be that. Family has to be people who you can feel like and hope that and believe that they're not going to abandon you because things aren't good or bad. That's how I define family. Some people have family that will abandon them, in which case that's crappy family. Or some people have step families or blended families, but people who will stay by you because they see you as that person that is important. The concept of family is somebody who will stand by you until they put you in a box or put them in a box. That's how I define someone's family. Will they stay with you until one of you goes in the box? If that's true, that's family. Sometimes people who are blood related, they won't do that. So that's what I mean by family. Often the tightest bonds that we have are not blood. And it's shocking. It's often true. Often our tightest bond is someone who is, someone who's gone through something with us, a tragedy with us. Or it could be someone who we're married to or been with since we were kids. It could be someone who is a step or half sibling or brother or cousin or something. So that's how I define family. And why is family important? Because family, for most of us, and not everybody, but for most of us, that's like our home base. That's our place where we can come in and say what we feel and be ourselves no matter what. It's where we can be vulnerable. It's where we can collapse. The biggest and most important part of any team is not necessarily how well you work together. That's important, but not the most important. The most important is, can you fail together? Can you be vulnerable among each other? If you can do that, you can build the best team and you can survive tragedy. The same thing works with family. Can you be vulnerable? Can you go to your family, whoever that person is or people are, and go, my God, I don't know what I'm doing now. I've collapsed. What do I do? How do I get around this? Will you still be there when you can see how much I've fallen down? So family becomes our home base. If we have that, we feel safe. We feel safe going out and doing things because we know in our hearts that if we fall, there's a place for us to go. We can go out and try something new because if we fail, there's someone to go, I got you. The thing that I miss most about my mother is not her advice. That isn't the number one thing I miss from her. What I miss from her is no matter what happened in my life, my mom always told me, don't worry, you'll get through this. You're good. You're smart. You'll get through this. You can do this. She always said that. And was she saying it because she believed it? I don't know. I hope she believed it. But it felt good either way. So that's what I mean by family. If you don't have that in your life, how can you be resilient, right? Family will help you be more and more resilient. And resilience is the key to success. We're all going to fall down. The question is, can we get back up? We all want to have a pity party. That's just human nature. But is our pity party 5 minutes or is our pity party 5 years? And our support structure, usually family, is going to heavily decide whether it's 5 minutes or whether it's 5 years.
Yeah, I think people are worried that they won't succeed. But the reality is, if you're smart and hardworking, you're going to be fine. Like it's, you just have to, one final question, like, how do you find that stick-to-itiveness, that willpower to get through that moment? Like when you have those challenges, what is a source for inspiration for you?
Well, it's interesting. I think probably there's a personality piece, right? Which many of us, we build this out. The idea of, I don't want to be helpless, so I'm going to be doing something. One of the reasons why the Marine Corps was so good for me is it reinforced things that I already thought, which is You want to be on the offensive. You want to be doing stuff. You want to have control of your life. You want to be doing things. And the fact that you're doing something gives you power in itself. So being on the offensive is important, going off and doing things, right? I remember I was talking to one of my friends and I said, every day I wake up and I'm at war. And she said, oh my God, that's so horrible. I said, no, it's glorious. I have a reason to get up in the morning. I said, when the war is over, put me in the box, right? Why am I getting up then, right? I want to be at war. I want to be doing things. I want to feel like I'm taking care of stuff. So the key aspect is, where are you going? If that makes any sense. You're asking, how do I know? Do I have a shining star? Do I have a place where I'm going that I can see where I'm moving towards? Do I know where I'm marching? If I don't know where I'm going, then I just spin in circles and fall down. So the number one thing is to know, where are you going? That's number one. But it's the second piece, which is going to seem kind of odd. You want people around you who rely on you. And you might go, wait a minute, Larry, that's a burden. It is a burden. It's true. But you want people to expect something from you, whatever that is, whether that's family, friends, business associates. You want people to expect something of you. Very often in our own world, when we're trying to achieve something, we will easily disappoint ourselves, make an excuse, disappoint ourselves. But we don't often disappoint others. So a tactic you can use if you want to achieve any goal. This will help you achieve any goal, whatever the goal is. I want to quit smoking. I want to start a business. I want to get a girlfriend. Insert thing here, whatever it is. Tell two people. Tell one person who you love. And that love can be romantic love, but it can also be familiar love, platonic love, but someone who you have an emotional connection to that you love. Tell that person. Say, hey, Remso, I love you. Let me tell you something. I want to, whatever, quit drinking. I don't drink, but whatever. I want to quit drinking. So do me a favor. I really want to do this. And my plan is, and tell them whatever your plan is, to not have a drink 30 days from now. That's my goal. Can you do me a favor, Remso? Can you reach out to me in like 30 days and see how I'm doing? Then tell somebody I respect. Chris, I really respect you, man. You know, I respect you. And I want to tell you something. I'm trying to quit drinking. And 30 days from now, my goal is in 30 days from now to not have a drink in 30 days. That's my goal. Can you do me a favor? Can you check in on me in 30 days?
I'm going to isolate all that and put it. Larry Sharpe respects Chris Spangle and trying to stop drinking. No, but you're exactly right. It's why I love coaching 100%. And it's why I love therapy. You can go to a therapist or a coach, but a therapist legally cannot tell anyone your worst secrets or your biggest dreams. And you can tell that person get through that mental bridge, and you feel free to do it because they can't or won't tell anybody. They're not connected to your circles, and you can check back in with them and they encourage you. And yes. It's such a huge piece of kind of evolving yourself from where you're at to where you want to be.
If you tell those two people 30 days from now, doesn't mean you'll do it, but you've just increased the odds, because now I have to have an excuse for both Remso and Chris to not do it. I'll excuse myself all day long. I'll make every excuse for myself. I'll punish myself. I'll say I'm not worthy. I'll find every reason to not do it for myself. But now I got to have an excuse, excuse me, for Remso to go, oh yeah, remember that thing I said? Yeah, I'm full of crap. And then I got to go to Chris and say, oh yeah, I'm full of crap. Now, if Chris actually respects me in return and Remso actually loves me, if I do that, they're both going to hold me to account. Remso's going to go, Larry, I love you, man. You can't do this. What are you talking about? You told me you were gonna. Now I'm like, oh my God, it's right. And now Chris is gonna be, dude, you just told me you're gonna, you have to. So even if I failed this time, if I pick the right two people, they're gonna give me a nudge, right? And Remso, if he loves me, is gonna give me a loving nudge. And Chris, if he respects me, is gonna give me more of a hardcore nudge. And I'm gonna get both of those nudges, which I probably need one or both of those to move forward anyway. So I'm gonna get what I need to hopefully in the next 30 days, make that thing happen. That will increase the odds of success.
Larry Sharpe, the website is sharpeway.com, Sharpe with an E, and you can get the book On Happiness, written by Larry Sharpe and Edward Hoffer.
You can pre-order it. It's not done yet. Pre-order.
Okay, it's pre-order. All right, where should I pre-order the book at?
LarrySharpe.com. I'm sorry, sharpeway.com. I got too many .coms. Sharpeway.com.
I'm sure it'll all lead to the same place.
I got like nine .coms. Sorry.
If I pre-order, how much longer do I have to wait, Larry?
I don't know. Just wait. It's good. It's totally worth it. It's totally worth it.
Your people told me very soon. So very, very soon. So
is that what they said? Very soon.
They told.
We need the date to be able to hold you accountable. See?
Yeah, that's right. Promise me a date, and then we will check back. We'll
But
all
you're assuming
zoom in.
that I respect you, Chris. There's the problem. That's the assumption you've just made.
You're a libertarian. You're a libertarian podcast host, but you probably don't.
He's got the audio now that says you do.
Yeah.
So he's gonna play that on the loop.
All right, Larry. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great conversation.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you for joining us here on the Chris Spangle Show. We appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please spread it around, share with your friends, and let's start advancing liberty by making ourselves better. Stay tuned. Next week, this group will be back. I will be gone because I will be at Podcast Movement next week. And Remso, Rhinehold, and Harry will talk about China. So make sure you tune in next Saturday. It's going to be a great show. And make sure you go download On the Run with Remso Martinez here on the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Thank you so much for joining me. We will talk to you again next week.